Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hoping you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. Looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar on Coinbase. This is the daily chart, guys. And excuse me, obviously the news yesterday that the SEC was going to put off ETFs. The decision on the ETF was very, very bearish news. The market reacted appropriately. Guys, this 618 fib, it had been sitting right on top of there for quite some time. I'm going to pull back in here to the 4-hour chart. Came down, tested it quite a few times. I told you yesterday that this support could only get tested so many times before it would end up breaking down. Price came down, reached down just shy of the 618 fib, came back up, faked everybody out, trapped people high, then entered these longer positions, and then it just crashed back down, guys. Been warning about the possibility of a bull trap for a long time. That's exactly what happened. Price ended up crashing down through the 618. Didn't even acknowledge it, just a beeline right past it. Came up, came into this support zone between 6600, 6500 that I've been telling you guys about. I told you guys that this is initially where price was probably going to initially get find some initial support. It actually ended up crashing through it down to about 6382, and then it got pushed right back up. I told you guys I don't believe that this support is going to hold for very long. It's holding for now, but I don't believe it's going to hold for very long. It's only been sitting in there for about 8 to 10 hours, somewhere thereabouts. I still do believe it's going to come back down and test this 786 fib level, which is sitting at 6350, somewhere thereabouts, at least on Coinbase. That is a relevant support zone. I've had a lot of orders there in the past, so I would expect it to acknowledge that zone at least somewhat, possibly move sideways. If that does end up breaking down, guys, I think it'll be a very rapid drop to more than likely down to 6,000. That's the 8865 fib level right in this zone. If this zone breaks, it'll be a very quick drop down to the 8900 to 8780, somewhere thereabouts in this zone. And this is the demand zone, guys, the prior low that has to hold. If we end up creating a new low out of this, that's going to be extremely, extremely bearish, guys. And then then all bets are off the table. Then more than likely we will see a $5,000 Bitcoin at least if it does break down below this. Now, it doesn't mean it has to. I just think probability-wise, if we do end up creating a new low, if it does peak through this, I think more than likely we will see a drop to $5,000. And I don't know that that's a bad idea, guys. Bitcoin has needed a longer correction for a very, very long time. I know it's painful in the short term, but I think in the long term, that's what's going to spark a longer term bull run. And we know that the market makers are manipulating this, guys. We know that institutional money is coming into this long term, so the market makers want to buy into this as low as possible, and that's why we're seeing this. Once institutional money invests into Bitcoin, guys, once ETFs are approved, and I do think it's only a matter of time, even if they get worst case scenario, even if the decision on ETFs gets rejected in September, it is still just a matter of time before it is approved. So, we may see a lot of pain in the short term, but in the long term, I think Bitcoin is just going to take off. And I would like to put this into perspective. Looking on the weekly chart, guys, excuse me, looking on the weekly chart, let me just point out some relevant support and resistance areas. Obviously, from our December all-time high to now, we've created a series of lower lows. It's created also almost entering into a wedge-like pattern here, as it's seen. Now, it wasn't this perfect wedge, but still, nonetheless, it is still this wedge-like pattern that we're seeing with a series of lower highs as it kind of contributes, or as it kind of meanders towards the apex of this larger wedge. Down here, we do have a very relevant demand zone. That demand zone sits between 6730 and 6350. That's a very, very relevant, 6350 and 6730, guys. So if it does break below that, I'm going to start getting extremely concerned. I think at that point we'll probably come down to this zone down here, which isn't necessarily a demand zone, but is a decent support. And you find that between 6.4 and 4.3, or excuse me, 4.6, I should say, and 4.3. But this ascending support line has been in place since early 2017. I do think it's very likely we come down, test the bottom of this support zone, possibly, and then price ends up getting caught by this support as well, and then it impulses up from there. That's one possibility. Possibility two, it just crashes through and comes down to this zone at 47, or yeah, about 4700 to about 4300. So anyway, guys, but from a bigger picture, guys, as we approach this wedge, assuming it stays within this support and resistance, a higher likelihood that we are going to see possibly price come down, reach out the bottom, and then just impulse right up. We know as it reaches the apex of any wedge, and on the higher, especially on higher time frames, the higher the time frame, the larger the breakout. So if we reach the apex of this wedge, we can expect a much larger breakout as it's here on the weekly chart. But just to give, as I said, guys, to put things into perspective, I'm going to switch over to log scale. For those of you that don't know, log scale shows you price movement in percentage rather than in dollars. So, we see, a percentage move. And if we look at overall price, if I kind of come out here, guys, and we look at the overall price movement of Bitcoin, this is on Bitfinex, so this only tracks back down to 2013. Bitcoin has been one hell of an investment since 2013. I mean, yes, it had this correction in here, but even so, from this prior low, I mean, that was $73 low. Even at this lowest point of this correction, it was 184. So it went from 72 to $184, and that was at the low of this correction, guys. That's still a hell of an investment. And then it's been nothing but blue skies since then. So, this little correction that we're seeing here is not very, I mean, when you look at it on a percentage level from where it was, this is not the huge major death of Bitcoin that everyone is making it out to be. In the grand scheme of things, this is an extremely small correction. In fact, if you just look at this time last year, Bitcoin was, let's see, this time last year, what were we in? June, somewhere thereabouts. Bitcoin was sitting at, let's see, June. Actually, it was April. So let me just make sure I'm comparing apples to apples here. It was April. Bitcoin was sitting at, or excuse me, August. I can't speak, guys. Sorry about that. It was at $2,900, and we're still at, so it's more than double, about 60% up from this time last year. Tell me one stock that could do that. I mean, it's, that does this consistently. I mean, it has for the last 3 years. So, overall, this is not the death of Bitcoin whatsoever, guys. Not whatsoever. So keep some perspective on this, guys. Keep some perspective. So anyway, if we go in here and we zoom in our charts, guys, we look at our moving average, we can see price has gone below the outer Bollinger Band, the lower Bollinger Band here on the 4-hour chart. It's well below the 8-day moving average, looking extremely, extremely bearish. If we come in here and we look at our short positions, shorts are stacking. This makes me think that we might see a temporary spike. Oftentimes when you see short stack in a straight line like this, you'll see a temporary spike because they will get liquidated, and you'll see a spike up in price as these shorts get liquidated because they only can go up for so long before they have a nice correction. So I wouldn't be surprised to see price end up coming back up, maybe even testing as high as 76.50, maybe even 7,700, and then end up coming crashing right back down. And at that point, we're going to probably test this 6350 to 6300 zone. If that breaks down, guys, I think it'll be a very quick drop to at least 6,000. 6,000, there's not a lot of support, but it is a good psychological number, so it may hold, but more than likely that's going to break and come down and test this demand zone between 5880 and 5780. And as I said, guys, if that does break, there's a very high probability we're going to go down to 5,000. But we're not there yet, so let's just wait and see how this ends up playing out as far as trades go. I'm going to wait and see if price does end up impulsing, or not impulsing, I shouldn't say that. If we do get a temporary rise up in price, if it comes down to around maybe 6,700, I'll probably short it all the way down to 6,300. That's the only real play or trade setup I can see at the moment. If price does end up breaking down, excuse me, guys, if price does end up breaking down and kind of moving sideways on top of this 6350 support zone, and it breaks below that, the minute price breaks below that, if it hits maybe 6290, I'll probably short it down to 6,000. But really, little scalp trades like that, in and out. I don't see any long positions. I don't see entering anything other than a quick scalp trade, a quick day trade in this market, in my opinion, is not advisable. Now, again, it's not financial advice. You do what you want, guys, obviously. but in my opinion, it's just not very advisable. If we come over here, look at the 4-hour stock RSI, it's very oversold. Look at the RSI is oversold as well, sitting at about 25. If we come over here, we look at the daily stock RSI is also oversold. Daily RSI is starting to reach oversold zones, coming to about 30 to 31, somewhere thereabouts, guys. So again, I wouldn't be surprised to see a short-term rise in price, followed by it coming back down to test that 63.50 support zone. So anyway, guys, these are my quick thoughts on Bitcoin. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you wouldn't mind, guys, if you enjoy these videos, please remember to smash the like button or the upvote, depending on what you're viewing this on. I certainly would appreciate your support. And until next time, guys, please trade safe. This is Working, signing out.